You know, aging is not for sissies. I am 72 years old and I've been through a lot of transitions in my life. A lot of transitions. And aging has probably been right up there with some of the most difficult ones. There's so many things that happen when we age that even though you've heard it, I worked in a salon for years before I became a therapist, and I'd heard it. I'd heard all of it. Uh, you know, I was real close with my maternal grandmother, and she was uh, a hairdresser, and she talked about this stuff. But when you're going through it, it's a lot more difficult than when you hear about it. I know that I've had many, many clients that were well adjusted, did well. They retired, got older, and they ended up on my couch. My dog wants to be part of the video. Here he is. He's old. He always wants up here with me. But, um, one of the things is just a loss of strength. Even if you work out, I do strength training. I mean, I've really worked hard at it, upped my game to build muscle, and I get the jar of pickles, and I can't get the thing open. I'm banging on it, like like I was taught as a young girl, and to break the seal, and I don't have enough strength in my hands to get the pickle jar open. How frustrating can that be? It's frustrating, to be able to not do yard work like you used to. I can do some. I don't have the strength. I went on a ladies' retreat this weekend, and we took one of my friends. We took our Jeep, and it was higher up. And even though I am in great shape, I have a lot of strength, it was hard getting in that vehicle. I thought they were going to have to give me the push, the butt push. And it's like, you know, there comes a point of acceptance that I'm getting older. I had this discussion with a client just this week. I think one of the hard things, and I've really the last 2 years gone through this, is, you know, friends dying, losing friends, colleagues, uh, and a lot. Uh, I can remember my grandmother told me, she said, well, she was probably about 70. She said, I'm cutting down my clients. And I thought, are you getting rid of them? She had these clients for 60 years. She said, no, just not taking any new ones. And as the old ones die off, then I'm cutting down. And it was just matter of factly. And I'm like, it was kind of strange to me that my grandmother had that attitude. And you get to a point to where you realize this is a part of aging. And it's difficult. There's a lot of grief in not being able to do the things you used to do. Not having the same amount of energy. Um, I I still work 2 days a week, and I am tired after just those 2 days, and it takes a whole day for me to recuperate, or a trip, or riding in the car. That's probably, you know, 2 hours in the car, and I get out and I can hardly walk at first. Those type of things, they're hard to navigate. They're hard to accept, especially, I was a very active, well, and, probably till, almost 60. I started having trouble with my hip, and and I've always had a bum knee, and I knew that someday I'm going to have this knee replaced. Thank goodness for modern medicine, robotic surgery, replacements. I've had a hip replaced and a knee replaced. And for the medical team that, you know, my physical therapist asked, what's your goal for physical therapy? And I said, I don't want to walk like an old woman because I had been. And she said, okay, this is what we'll have to do. And you're going to have to do some work on your own. And I accepted that. And I took on the challenge. And I probably get around better today than I did 10 years ago. Well, I know I do 10 years ago. And, I've really worked real hard over the last 5 years and changed to where I don't walk like an old woman. I just didn't want to. I work on keeping my posture straight. I do strength training, and I'm always kind of searching for things that are going to help me with those type of things. I do a weighted sit to stand, which was something I ran across last year that has really changed my balance. So those are some things that we struggle with. Retirement. We have this idea about retirement, and it's not always what we think. I think one of the biggest realizations about retirement is, I'm at home all the time. I've worked all my life, worked 40 hours a week or more, and been gone. And the biggest thing I realized was the amount of toilet paper I used. So, gonna have to should have planned better for my retirement fund to pay for toilet paper. Anyway, just some thoughts I had after this week of the conversation I had with a client about this very subject, that it is a transition and it is a struggle. And yet, if you live long enough, we all go through it. You don't quit, you don't die. You're going to struggle with some of these. And to be able to talk about it and accept it. Growing old, it's not for sissies. But there's one thing you can do, and you can be you on purpose. Thanks for listening.